Welcome guys, this is the second lesson out of the 10 and we are going to be going through brand gravity. Now this is a lesson from Skool, and if you do want the frameworks and resources that come along with it, head over to the free community in the description. And also, if this is your first lesson out of the entire series, I recommend you to hit up lesson 1 first, because we go over frameworks that we are going to use in the rest of the lessons. So hope you guys enjoy today's session. Welcome to lesson 2 of the Modern Founders Academy, and in today's video we're going to be talking about brand gravity. Branding being so important. In the last lesson, we've installed your operating system. You have your quadrant, you have your flywheel, and you have your content pyramid. But an engine is just a collection of cold metal parts until you add fuel. In the creator economy, that fuel is trust. Most creators think branding is an afterthought, something they'll figure out once they have enough followers. They think branding starts with a logo, a color palette. I'm here to tell you that a logo is just a decoration. Your brand is something much deeper. It is a trust system. It is the set of invisible cues your audience uses to decide in a fraction of a second if they should listen to you, remember you, or recommend you to someone else. I call this brand gravity. When you have it, you pull the right people towards you effortlessly. When you don't, you are just another account in the feed, shouting into the noise, wondering why your high effort content isn't converting into high intent followers. Today, we move away from looking like a creator and towards being a brand. We are going to build the gravity that ensures when someone finds you through your discovery content, they don't just scroll past, they stay, they explore, and they eventually take action. Most creators fail because they confuse branding with aesthetics. They spend weeks picking the perfect font, but 0 minutes defining their values. If your brand was a person, you'd never want them to show up looking different, sounding different, and standing for something new every single week. That person wouldn't be a friend. They'd be a stranger you can't trust. Branding is the architecture of reputation. It is how you train the algorithm and your audience to associate your face and your voice with a clear, repeatable position. Think about your identity content from lesson 1. If that content is the signal, then your brand gravity is what makes that signal loud enough to be heard over the chaos of the feed. When we strip branding down to its core, we are talking about creating a flagship store experience. Whether they see you on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube, the experience must be unified. If the vibe is inconsistent, trust resets to 0 every time there is a new post. We are here to ensure that trust never resets, it only compounds. Now, look at this triangle on the screen. This is the brand gravity triangle. Every piece of content you deploy is being audited by your audience's brain against these 3 points. Can I trust you? Do you look and sound like an authority in your space? Can I remember you? Are you distinct enough to stand out from the thousands of other creators I saw today? Can I recommend you? Could I explain what you do to a friend in 1 sentence without getting it wrong? If you can't answer yes to all of them, your brand gravity is leaking. People are slipping through the cracks of your flywheel because you haven't given them a reason to anchor their attention to you. Branding is what solves this. It turns a casual viewer into a loyal advocate. It moves people from the discovery phase of the pyramid into the action phase because the identity layer is so strong it creates its own orbit. This isn't about being famous, it's about being the inevitable choice of your specific audience. So, how do we actually build this gravity? We build it through the trust stack. Trust isn't built in one moment. It is built through layers of consistency that stack on top of each other over time. If you break just one of these layers, the whole stack collapses, and you have to start building from the bottom again. Look at the stack on the screen. We have 4 distinct layers: consistent visuals, consistent voice, consistent values, and consistent vibe. Most creators only focus on the first layer, if they focus on branding at all. But a premium brand, a brand that commands attention and drives high-ticket transactions, requires all 4. This stack is what turns your talent into a professional operation. It's what moves you from the burnout zone into the breakout zone, because it makes your influence scalable. Let's break down exactly what each of these layers mean for your audience's journey. The base of the stack is consistent visuals. This is about recognition. The human brain processes images 60,000 times faster than text. If I can spot your content in my feed without even seeing your handle, you've already won the first battle of attention. If your look changes every week, you are forcing your audience to relearn who you are every time you post, and that friction kills growth. The second layer is consistent voice. This is about your familiarity. Your voice is the handshake of your brand, whether it's a caption on an Instagram carousel, a script for a YouTube video, or a reply in the DMs. It needs to feel like the same person is speaking every time. Think back to the four script energies from lesson 1. Are you the strategist? Are you the truth teller, cutting through the noise with raw energy and unfiltered honesty? If you are a tactical expert in your videos but sound like a salesy robot in your DMs, you break familiarity and destroy trust. Your voice must be the thread that connects every platform in your shop window. The third layer is consistent values. This is where we move from followers to loyalty. People don't just stick around for what you post, they stick around for what you stand for. This is your identity content in action. When you consistently voice your core beliefs, your signal, you attract the people who share those values and repel the people who don't. The friction is good. A brand that tries to please everyone has zero gravity. Now, the final top layer is consistent vibe. This is the hardest one to fake. It is the emotional connection. It's the energy your audience feels when they interact with you. Is your brand bold and cinematic, or is it calm and strategic? The vibe is the glue of your community. When all four layers are locked in, you aren't just a content creator. You are a place that people visit. You become a destination. This is why some brands win with average content. Their trust stack is so high that their audience's loyalty is unshakable. To know if your trust stack is actually working though, you have to run the 4 R's test. This is your notebook test for today. Ask yourself these 4 questions. 1. Recognize. Can a stranger spot your content in 3 seconds without seeing your name? Next, recall. Can they explain exactly what you do and who you help in 1 sentence? Moving to repeat. Can they repeat your core message to someone else without getting it wrong? And then recommend. Would they put their own reputation on the line to vouch for you? If you're unsure about any of these, your brand gravity is leaking. People are slipping through the cracks of your flywheel because you haven't anchored them with a clear identity. Consistency is currency. Every time you deviate from your visuals, voice, or values, you are essentially spreading that currency and going back to being broke in the eyes of the audience. Now, the final piece of this part is a mindset shift, moving from ego to education. Most people think branding is showing off. It's not. High gravity brands don't tell people they are good. They show them repeatedly through action content and brand proof. Trust doesn't come from a pitch, it comes from proof multiplied by repetition. We use the proof pyramid to build this credibility, showing your process, your personal wins, your community results, and your market authority. When every post is proof, you never have to fight for credibility. Your brand does the selling for you before you even mention an offer. Branding is no longer an afterthought for you. It is the engine that makes every single piece of content work 10 times harder. Next, we are going to build your brand core blueprint. We are going to move from theory to execution and define the anchor statement that will act as your North Star for your entire ecosystem. Most creators spend years trying to find their brand by accident. They post a variety of different styles, hoping that one day their vibe will magically click with an audience. That is why you see so many people changing their editing style, their niche, or their tone every 3 months. They are wandering in the dark. We're not doing that, yeah? Today, we are building your brand core on purpose so you can run it like a system, not a mood. We are moving from a blank page to a definitive anchor statement that you can run your entire operation on. This isn't just a creative exercise. It is the construction of your non-negotiable DNA. If you nail this blueprint, your growth starts to feel effortless because every piece of content you put out becomes a proof point for who you are. If you skip this, you will spend years building something that nobody can remember. Think of your brand core as the central nervous system of your creator identity. It's the filter through which every decision, your content ideas, your offers, your outreach, and even your partnerships must pass. If an idea doesn't align with this core, it gets cut. It is the foundation of your identity content. Look at the screen. Your brand core is made up of 5 distinct layers: your name, your tagline, your promise, your feel, and finally, your anchor statement. When these 5 elements are locked in, they create a North Star for your brand. You will never have to wonder, what do I do in this situation? Because the system already has the answer. We are moving away from being a content creator and stepping into the role of a brand operator. This core is what allows you to operate with total clarity. The first filter of your brand gravity is your name. Whether you are using your personal name or a brand handle, it needs to be engineered for 3 things. It must be memorable, meaningful, and scalable. Memorable means it's easy to say and easy to spell. You don't want to lose potential followers because they couldn't find you in a search bar. Meaningful means it ties back to your niche or your specific vibe. It gives the viewer a hint of what's inside the shop before they even walk in. And scalable means it still works even if you expand your audience or your offers 2 years from now, for example. If a stranger saw your name on a t-shirt, would they know immediately what you're about? Or at least intrigued enough to want to know more? If the answer is no, you have a positioning problem that we need to fix with a tagline. Your tagline is the fastest way to communicate your value proposition to the world. In the fast paced marketplace of TikTok and Instagram, you have about 3 seconds to win someone over. You cannot afford to be vague. I use a specific formula to lock in clarity. I help who get to results without pain. For example, I help creators grow 10 times faster without burning out on content. Notice how that statement defines exactly who the target is, what the desired transformation is, and what the primary obstacle is. It's a surgical strike of positioning. I want you to pause and write your own version using this formula. Read it out loud. If it doesn't sound like something you'd actually say in a real conversation, rewrite it until it does. This tagline is the hook for your entire brand identity. It's what makes your discovery content effective because the viewer instantly knows they are in the right place. Next, we define your brand promise. This is your transformation statement. If the tagline is what you say, the promise is what you deliver. It is the reputation flaw, the absolute result people can trust you to provide every single time they interact with your brand. The rule here is simplicity: 10 to 12 words maximum. It is not a list of features, it is the ultimate result. For example, I turned overwhelmed coaches into confident, booked out educators online. This promise is your contract with the audience. When you constantly deliver this promise through your action content, you build the kind of trust that makes monetization inevitable. Your promise is what turns a casual viewer into a loyal advocate who recommends you to others because they know exactly what you stand for. Now, we move into the emotional layer of your blueprint, the brand feel. This is where you lock in your brand's emotional tone. Recognition isn't what people see, it's about what they feel when they see it. I want you to pick 3 emotional triggers that you want your audience to experience every time they interact with you. Are you bold, empowering, and cinematic? Or are you calm, strategic, and evolved? Maybe you are playful, honest, and sharp. Write your 3 descriptors down now. These are the guardrails for your consistent vibe. If you were ever stuck on a content idea, ask yourself, does this make people feel the way I want them to feel? If this doesn't align with these 3 words, it doesn't belong in your shop. This is how to ensure that your brand always sounds like you, even when you're not in the room. Finally, we bring it all together into your brand anchor statement. This is your North Star, the definitive sentence you will revisit before every post, every offer, and every partnership. It is the ultimate expression for your brand core. The formula is: my brand exists to help audience achieve results using content type and whatever your value system or style is. For example, my brand helps introverted creators build confident camera-ready content using storytelling frameworks and clean visual systems. This statement is the heartbeat of your creator flywheel. It connects your positioning gear to your creation gear. Once you have this written, you aren't just posting anymore. You are deploying a message. You are training the algorithm and your audience to associate you with a clear, repeatable, and unforgettable position. Now, how do you know if your core brand actually works? You run it through the litmus test. First, it must pass the stranger test. Could a complete stranger recommend you to someone else using only these words? Second, it must pass the content filter. If a content idea doesn't align with your core, does it get cut? Third, it must pass the offer filter. Does every product or service you offer reinforce your brand promise. If your core passes all three, you have a foundation strong enough to scale and protect for years. You have built the DNA. You have defined the signal. Now, in the next part, we are going to wrap this brand core in a visual identity so strong that people recognize your work before they even read your name. Now, we have defined your brand core. We know your anchor statement, your mission, and your emotional descriptors. But now we have to make that identity visible. A strong brand isn't just heard, it's seen before a single word is ever spoken. If your content appears in someone's feed with your name blurred out and they still know it's yours, then you have mastered visual identity. Most creators treat their visuals like an afterthought. They use a different filter today than they did yesterday. They change their fonts based on what looks cool in the moment. But visual identity is not about looking pretty. It is about training the human brain. The human brain is a pattern detection machine and it processes images 60,000 times faster than text. Recognition happens in milliseconds, long before someone reads your headline or hears your hook. If your look changes every week, you're resetting that recognition clock over and over again, forcing your audience to do the mental work they don't want to do. To build a brand that stops the scroll, you need to understand the math of recognition. We use a specific formula to ensure your identity is unbreakable. Your palette plus your typography plus your composition plus your signature assets equals your visual DNA. This equation is your blueprint for your instant recognition. If you break even one element, people start to doubt whether they've seen your work before. Your visual DNA is what makes your channel recognizable in one single scroll. It turns your content from a random collection of uploads into a unified brand that people recognize in a sidebar before they ever read the title. I am here to make your brand impossible to ignore by speaking the native language of the brain, which is patterns. So, the heartbeat of your visual DNA is your color palette. You have your 3 to 4 core colors, no more, or your brand becomes a visual chaos. To assign these colors strategically, we use the 60-30-10 rule. The first color would be your primary color. This is your anchor. It should dominate the majority of your brand assets to create a consistent vibe. Your secondary color, which is 30%. This supports and balances your primary color, providing depth to your designs. Then you have your accent color, which is 10%. This is your most powerful tool. You use it sparingly to highlight your most important elements, your hooks, your callouts, and your CTAs. Then you have your neutral tone. You use this for backgrounds and spacing to give your content breathing room. Lock these colors in now. Use their specific hex codes every single time. Consistency in color is the fastest way to build familiarity and recognition. Now, the next part of the equation is your typography stack. Fonts carry tone. The wrong font can make expert high-level advice look like a kid's birthday invite. You need a locked-in stack of 3 fonts that match the emotional feel we defined in your brand core. You have your headline font. This should be big, bold, and personality-packed. It's designed to grab the attention in the first second. Then you have your body font. This must be clean and highly readable. This is where the depth of your message lives. Then you have your accent font. This is optional, but great for highlights, quotes, or adding a secondary layer of personality. Once you pick these, lock them into your editing software, so Canva, Adobe, CapCut, and never guess your fonts again. Your typography is a signal of your professionalism and your authority. The third part of the equation is composition. This is how you literally frame your walls. It includes your framing, choices, whether you use tight shots, wide B-roll, or over-the-shoulder screen recordings. Consistency in how you frame yourself and your environment builds a sense of place for the viewer. If one video is a high-end cinematic setup and the next is a shaky handheld shot in a dark room, you are breaking that trust stack. You want your audience to feel like they are entering your flagship store every time they click play. Your framing should reinforce your brand's emotional descriptors. If you are strategic and elevated, your composition should look intentional and clean. The final part of the equation is your signature assets. This is where your unique personality really shows up. These are your recurring on-screen elements that act as your watermark for your brand. Specific transitions or frame borders, consistent color grades, or LUTs that give your footage a unique feel. Reoccurring visual cues like whiteboard cut-ins, lower thirds, or specific call-out boxes. Think of these as your brand's fingerprint. They should be easy for you to replicate, but instantly recognizable to your audience. When you use these consistently, you create a visual language that your viewers learn to understand and trust. Now, one of the biggest challenges for creators is maintaining this visual DNA across multiple platforms. You must adapt your look without losing your brand gravity. YouTube, your banner should match your palette. Your thumbnails must use your typography stack, and your end screen should carry your brand's mark. Now, moving on to TikTok. Your profile photo should be cropped in tight for recognition, and your pinned video should use your accent color to guide the eye. Now, Instagram. Use highlights to cover your brand colors and pre-styled carousel templates that use your exact visual DNA. This is how you build a shop window ecosystem that feels unified. Whether they find you on a 15-second TikTok or a 15-minute YouTube video, the DNA remains the same. Different shapes, but the same identity. Now, before you post anything, you must run it through the visual identity test. Does this look like me? Could my followers recognize it without seeing my handle? Is there at least one signature element visible in the first 3 seconds? If you can answer yes to all three, you are diluting your brand. Recognition is currency. Protect it by never reinventing your look casually. Evolve your brand over time, but never restart it from scratch. You have the math, you have the colors, the fonts, and the framing. In the next part, we are moving from what your brand looks like to what it sounds like. Visuals get you noticed, cool, but your voice is what makes you remembered. We've built your brand core and we've locked your visual DNA. People can now recognize your brand from across the room before they even read a single word. But visuals only get you noticed. Your voice is what makes you remembered. If your visuals are the face of your brand, then your voice is the handshake, the conversation, and the vibe that people carry with them long after they finish scrolling. I see so many creators who nail the look, the lighting is perfect, and the colors are on point. But then their captions, their hooks, and their comments sound like they could have been written by anyone. That kills your connection. Your voice is the bridge between your visuals and your values. It's the multiplier that turns attention into relationship. When you master your brand voice, people stop seeing you as a content producer and start seeing you as a person they know, like, and trust. It's the difference between a robotic broadcast and a magnetic personality. To build a voice that sticks, we use the voice triangle. This is a framework designed to define the emotional and linguistic boundaries of your brand. If you mess up one corner of this triangle, you confuse your audience and break the familiarity we worked so hard to build in a trust stack. Look at the triangle on the screen. It is made of 3 elements: tone, vocabulary, and rhythm. Tone is the emotional stance you take, the energy behind your words. Vocabulary represents the specific words you choose to use, and as importantly, the words you choose to avoid. Rhythm is the pacing and the flow of how you speak and write. When these 3 are aligned, your brand starts to develop its own unique cadence. People start to say, that sounds exactly like something you'd say. That is the goal. We are looking for an identity signal so clear it becomes impossible to mistake you for anyone else. The first corner of the triangle is tone. You cannot be everything to everyone. If you try to be funny, serious, or aggressive, and soft all in the same week, you sound inconsistent and untrustworthy. You need to pick 1 or 2 dominant tones and make them your home base. Are you the tactical expert providing calm, measured authority? Or are you the friendly coach using an empowering and aspirational tone to lead your community? I want you to pick yours right now. Imagine your ideal audience member scrolling through a chaotic feed. What is the specific energy you want them to feel the second they hear your voice or read your caption? Once you select this, it becomes the emotional filter for every script you write and every DM you send. The second corner is vocabulary. This is about the specific language you use to describe the world. Every great brand has its own dictionary. Think about the words I use: architecture, operating, system, flywheel, signals. These aren't just words. They are anchors for my own brand identity. Your vocabulary should reinforce that tone. If you are a tactical expert, you use precise analytical language. If you are a truth teller, you use direct, punchy, and perhaps even polarizing words. You also need to decide what you don't say. If your brand is elevated and strategic, you probably avoid slang or overly casual jargon that diminishes your authority. Vocabulary is a boundary. It tells the audience who you are and by extension, who you are not. By choosing your words carefully, you are training your audience to think the same language you do. The final corner is rhythm. This is the heartbeat of your delivery. In music, rhythm is what makes you move. In content, Rhythm is what keeps you watching. This ties directly back to the rhythm code we discussed in the operating system, the sequence of tension and release. How do you pace your sentences? Do you use short, punchy statements or create that sense of urgency? Or do you use longer, flowing narratives that build intimacy? Your rhythm should match your brand feel. A high energy performer uses rapid pacing and frequent spikes. A calm strategist uses deliberate pauses and settles to anchor their points, just like that. Consistency in your rhythm makes your content addictive. The brain craves patterns, and when you develop a signature pacing, your audience can settle into your content comfortably because they know what to expect. Now, to keep your voice consistent without overthinking it every day, I use the always never framework. These are the guardrails for your brand. I want you to draw 2 columns. In the always column, write down the traits your voice must always embody. For me, it's confident, clear, and practical. In the never column, write down the traits that would break your brand gravity. For me, it's uncertainty, salesy, or robotic. Those aren't just words, they are rules of engagement. When you are halfway through writing a caption and you start to sound a bit too salesy, the never column pulls you back. This framework ensures that even on the days you don't feel creative, you can still produce content that sounds exactly like your brand. Next, we create the signature phrases. Every great brand has a few repeatable lines that anchor them in the audience's mind. These are the phrases that over time, your audience will start quoting back to you in the comments. Think of phrases like, let me break it down, or here's the truth, or systems beats effort. For example, those are mine. These aren't just taglines, they are verbal watermarks. I want you to come up with 2 or 3 of these right now. If there is something you already say naturally that resonates with people, turn it into a signature phrase. If not, create ones that feel authentic to your values and easy for people to remember. These phrases act as mental shortcuts. When people hear them, they immediately associate the insight with your brand. Here is where most creators fail though. They break character in the DMs. They go from a fun, confident, and magnetic on camera to being stiff, transactional, or lazy in private. They spend hours on a script and then reply to a thoughtful comment with a single thanks or a generic emoji. Your voice doesn't stop when the video ends. Commenting is content. Your replies and DMs are where the real trust is built and where the capture gear of your flywheel actually turns. Rule number 1. Reply with the same tone and energy you use on camera. Avoid one-word responses. Instead, add value or start a mini conversation. Use your signature phrases and brand-aligned call to action triggers like drop me a fire if you want this breakdown. This consistency proves your brand isn't just a mask, it's quite literally who you are. Now, to make this practical, we use a brand messaging map. This connects your voice to your specific content types from the audience journey pyramid. It ensures you never have to wonder, how should I write this? Now, look at the table. We assign a specific voice style to each content type. Starting off with educational posts. These will be your action content. Use tactical clarity and a step-by-step tone. Storytelling posts, so your identity content. Use emotional depth and cinematic language. Then your sales posts, your conversion content, which are confident and benefit focused with zero fluff. When you map your voice this way, your content calendar becomes a unified experience. The audience moves from being educated to being moved to being converted, all while feeling like they are talking to the same person. Now, the final audit for your voice and messaging is the one scroll test. If someone scrolled through a page with the sound off, then watch the video with the sound on, and then read your captions and your DM replies. Would it feel like it's one unified personality speaking the whole time? If visuals say cinematic expert, but the captions say generic influencer, you have a dissonance problem that will leak gravity. Your goal is a unified personality. Voice and visuals together are what make a brand unforgettable. You've now locked in what your brand looks like and what your brand sounds like. You've built the handshake and the conversation. In the next part, we're going to make the brand believable. We're now going into brand proof, the system that turns your content into a trust machine by proving you actually deliver on your promises. We have built the face and the voice of your brand. By now, your audience recognizes your visual DNA and they resonate with your signature messaging. But notice and resonance only get you through the door. If you want to move people from the discovery phase of their journey into the action phase, you need more than just a good look. You need belief. Brand visuals and voice make people notice you. Brand proof makes people believe you, and in the creator economy, belief is the currency that actually converts. Most creators struggle because they spend all their time telling people they are experts. They make bold claims in their identity content, but provide zero evidence to support them. I'm here to tell you that trust doesn't come from telling people you're good. It comes from showing them repeatedly in ways you cannot ignore. Today, you're turning your content into a trust machine. To build unbreakable gravity, you need to understand the math of credibility. We use a specific formula. Trust equals proof times repetition. One screenshot of a win isn't a brand, it's a fluke. But a consistent stream of evidence laid into your weekly rhythm creates a sense of inevitability. When your audience sees proof of your process and your results every single week, they stop questioning your authority. If you get this right, you will never have to oversell or use aggressive high-pressure tactics. Your content does the selling for you before you ever even mention an offer, like we said earlier. We are moving away from the hustle of convincing and towards the operation of proving. Not all proof carries the same weight. To build deep authority, we use the proof pyramid. This is a 4-layer hierarchy designed to validate your brand from the ground up. So, layer 1, the process proof. So this is your base. This is showing how you work. It's behind the scenes footage, your toolkits, and your decision-making frameworks. It proves you have a system, not just luck. Then layer 2, your personal proof. Share your own results, your personal wins, and the lessons you've learned the hard way. This anchors your identity in the real-world experience. Then layer 3, your client or community proof. This is the social validation, testimonials, screenshots of wins, and transformations from those you've helped. Then layer 4, your market proof, the top, partnerships, features, or collaborations with other high authority figures. You want to build proof from the bottom up. The base, your process and personal results, is what makes the top layers believable. To make this practical, every single post you deploy in your weekly growth rhythm should serve one of the 5 specific pillars. If a post doesn't fit into these, it's just noise that dilutes your gravity. Look at the grid on the screen. Every single one of your posts must 1. Inspire, connect your values and identity content. Then educate, provide tactical value. Then build trust, reinforce your voice and consistency. Show proof, validate your claims using the pyramid. You can start the conversation, trigger the capture gear of your flywheel. If your content calendar doesn't have a show proof or build trust post scheduled at least once a week, you are starving your brand's credibility. You might be entertaining your audience, but you aren't leading them towards a transformation. One of the most powerful ways to scale your gravity is through proof loops. This is a system where one piece of action content creates evidence for future identity content. Here's how the cycle works. Phase 1, you post a tactical tip or a framework. Phase 2, someone in your community comments or DMs you saying that the tip worked for them. Phase 3, you screenshot that comment and post it in your stories with a soft call to action. Phase 4, that proof drives more people to test the framework, which creates more comments and more proof. This is a self-sustaining loop. It turns your audience into active participants in your brand's growth. It moves the focus away from you and places it on the success of your community, which is the ultimate form of authority. In lesson 1, we spoke about how TikTok and Instagram are foot traffic and window dressing. People are scrolling fast. If you post a proof video like a client's win or a process video, but it doesn't look like you, you've wasted the opportunity to build recognition. You must bake your brand into the first 3 seconds of your proof posts. This is pro-level branding. Use your accent color in the hook text. Use a signature transition or a frame border. Ensure your brand mark or logo is visible in the corner. Open with a signature phrase your audience expects. This ensures that even if someone doesn't watch the whole video, their brain still logs a trust signal for your brand. You are training them to associate results with your visual DNA. Just as proof builds gravity, certain red flags can destroy it instantly. And I call these proof killers. One type would be overhyped results without context. If you show a massive win but don't explain the process, it feels fake. Another one would be low quality visuals. So blurry screenshots or low resolution videos signals that you aren't a professional. Broken promises. Content that promises a transformation that your offer doesn't actually deliver. Borrowing proof is another one as well. So using results that aren't actually yours or the client's. This is the fastest way to kill your reputation permanently. Proof isn't just about what you show, it's about what you choose not to show. Every piece of evidence must be rooted in truth and presented with the same quality as your flagship content. Now, the final mindset shift for this module is to move from ego to education. Most creators get proof wrong because they use it to brag. They say, look how great I am, or look how much money I made. This creates distance between you and your audience. It makes them feel like your success is an exception, not a roadmap. Proof works best when it's positioned as value for the audience, not a pat on your own back. Instead of saying, look what I did, use, here is how I got this result, so you can do it too. This shift turns your ego into education. It makes your success relatable and your authority aspirational. When you lead with education, people don't just admire you, they want to follow you. Your challenge today is to build your next proof post. Grab a piece of paper and answer these 4 questions. What was the before state? What specific action or solution created that change? What is the after state? How can you show this visually? You've built the handshake, the conversation, and now the belief. In the next part, we're going to connect this trust machine to your revenue. We are going into the brand monetization map, showing you how to turn this gravity into a system that generates income without losing your authenticity. Now, we have built the trust stack. We have locked your visual DNA and established a voice that cuts through the noise. But I need to be direct with you. A brand that doesn't connect to our monetization plans is just an expensive hobby. The whole point of building brand gravity is so that trust eventually turns into transactions without you ever having to lose your authenticity. Most creators treat their content and their income as 2 separate worlds. They make a video and then awkwardly try to figure out how to sell something later. That creates friction. It creates hard pivots that kill your attention and break the trust that we've worked so hard to build. So now we're going to fix that. We are going to map your brand directly to your revenue systems so that every post you deploy builds both your influence and your income. Your brand is the engine, but monetization is the fuel system. When they are built together, you stop feeling like you are starting from scratch every time you want to make money because every piece of content already points somewhere valuable. Every successful creator business makes money from some combination of 4 specific engines. Your job is not to do all of them at once, but to pick your starting point and then layer them strategically as your gravity grows. Services. This is your speed to income. It includes coaching, consulting, or done-for-you work. It's the highest friction, but highest reward starting point. Digital products. These are your scalable assets. Templates, courses, guides, and toolkits. These allow you to monetize while you sleep. Brand partnerships. These are UGC deals, so sponsorships and collaborations. They provide external validation for your authority. Affiliates and licensing. This is recommending the tools, software, or products you already believe in and use within your own operating system. Your goal is to align these engines so that they all reinforce your brand promise. If you are the systems expert, your services should be about building systems, and your affiliates should be the software that runs those systems. So before you launch anything, you must ensure that your offer doesn't dilute your gravity. Your brand should make your offers feel like an inevitable next step for your audience. If you have built your identity content correctly, people should be asking you for the offer before you even create it. I use the brand offer fit test to audit every potential revenue stream. Does my offer deliver the same transformation as my brand promise? If I promise cinema but sell a generic editing pack, I've broken the promise. Does my offer look and sound like my brand? Your product should be an extension of your visual DNA and your signature messaging. Would my audience instantly connect this offer to me if they saw it without context? If you can't check all 3 boxes, your offer is a distraction. It will cost you retention and eventually it will cost you trust. We are here to build a legacy, not just quick money. So, to make this crystal clear, let's look at how you map your revenue engines directly to your brand core. Suppose my brand core is, I help creators grow 10 times faster without burnout. My services would be growth strategy calls for content audits. My digital products would be viral video toolkit or content calendar templates. My partnerships would be collaborations with creator-focused software companies. My affiliates would be the specific editing tools that save creators time. Every cell in this table feels like a natural extension of the brand. When your audience sees these offers, they don't see a sales pitch. They see a solution to the problem I've been talking about in my identity content. This is how you monetize without losing your soul. The start of the sales journey isn't a purchase, it's the lead magnet handshake. This is your free offer. The first time a stranger trusts you with their contact information or their time inside your inner circle. Your lead magnet must follow 3 strict rules to be effective. It must solve one high pain, high priority problem. It needs to be a quick win that proves you can deliver on your promises. It must be instantly recognizable as yours. It needs to be your brand colors, your typography stack, your specific tone. If they download it and it looks generic, your gravity resets. It must link directly to a paid next step. A lead magnet without a bridge to a paid offer is just a dead end. Think of it as the transition from free value to paid transformation. It's the handshake that sets the tone for the entire relationship. Now, one of the fastest ways to destroy your brand gravity is to pitch in a way that doesn't sound like you. I see creators go from being authentic and helpful in their content to being stiff, high pressure, and transactional in their sales ads. This creates an uncanny valley effect that makes people hit the back button. So, your pitch should be a continuation of your content, not an interruption. You want to match your brand tone. If you are a calm strategist, your pitch should be measured and logical. Use your signature phrases. Anchor the offer in the same language they've heard in your videos. You should have visual cohesion. Your sales page and delivery materials, so the PDFs, the slides, the templates, must look like they belong to the same family as your Instagram videos. In this system, sales equals content in call to action mode. You are simply shifting from educating to inviting. So let's look at the full path from a stranger scrolling to a high ticket client. This is how you connect everything into one clean system. First, your audience. They find you through a brand aligned discovery content. Then your lead magnet. You offer a free fast win in your brand style. Then nurture content. You provide brand proof, education, and stories that reinforce your promise. Then your core offer. You present the paid product or service that solves their main problem. Then you have your high ticket offer. For those who want to scale the transformation or need deeper support, you provide a premium option. This roadmap ensures that every piece of content has a purpose. You aren't just posting, you are guiding people through a journey. Now, to close out this entire part, I want you to make a mindset shift. Stop thinking of content and sales as separate. Your content is your storefront. Every post you deploy should earn at least one of these 3 things. Trust, so through brand proof. Attention, through your identity hook. Cash, through a direct call to action. The best creators, the category leaders, are the ones who find a way to earn all 3 in the same post. You have the engines, you have the fit test, and you have the roadmap. In the next part, I'm going to close this lesson by installing your brand deployment system. I'm going to show you the weekly actions that make your brand impossible to ignore and impossible to forget. I'm going to make sure your shop stays open 24/7. So let's move on to the final part. Now, we have built the architecture, we have defined the DNA, we have locked in the visuals, the voice, and the proof, but I need to give you a reality check. The worst thing you can do after building a brand is to leave it sitting in a Google Doc. Your brand isn't a file, it's a living, breathing trust system that only works if you deploy it with discipline every single week. Strategy without execution is just hallucination. If you don't show up, your gravity disappears. People forget who you are. The algorithm loses your signal, and the trust we've spent so much time building begins to evaporate. Now, as I said, I'm going to install your brand deployment system. This is the set of weekly actions that make your brand impossible to ignore and impossible to forget. We are moving from planning your brand to living your brand. This is how you show up so consistently that your audience can't imagine going to anyone else. Now, to run this system, you must adopt the storefront mindset. I want you to think of your brand like a physical shop on a busy street. If you only open your shutters once a month, people forget you exist. If the window display keeps changing styles, one day it's a bakery, the next it's a hardware store, people won't know what you sell. And if the door is locked when they try to walk in, they stop trying. Your deployment system ensures that your shop is always open, always active, and always feels like you. When you operate with this mindset, you aren't just posting content, you are maintaining a presence. You are training the marketplace to recognize that you are a professional operator who shows up with a post. Consistency is currency. Every piece of content you deploy is a deposit into your brand's bank account. If you stop depositing, you stop growing. So to keep your creative flywheel spinning, your brand needs to show up in 3 distinct channels every single week. If you neglect any one of these, you create a bottleneck in your audience's journey. So look at the circles on the screen. The public feed, this is your YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram presence. This is where discovery content happens. It is the foot traffic and the window dressing that brings new people towards your shop. The community space, so this is your close community. So for example, my Skool community or your newsletter. This is where identity content lives. This is where you build depth, loyalty, and a sense of belonging. Then direct contact. This is your DMs, your emails, and your comments, replies. This is where action content and conversion must happen. You must deploy your brand across all three. If you only live in the public feed, you are a performer with no depth. If you only live in the DMs, you are a salesperson with no authority. Mastery is being brand everywhere. So one of the biggest fears creators have is that they have to create entirely new content for every platform. This is a myth that leads directly to the burnout zone. Consistency doesn't mean cloning the same post everywhere. It means adapting the same feel across different formats. Think of it as one signal, different shapes. On YouTube, your signal might be a 15-minute high-value breakdown with a branded thumbnail. On TikTok, that signal becomes a 20-second punchy hook using your visual style. On Instagram, it becomes a carousel pulling out the key takeaways using your typography stack. The shape changes to fit the window, but the DNA remains the same. This is how you maintain brand gravity without doubling your workload. You are deploying your architecture, not reinventing it. So, to maintain your trust stack, I want you to commit to a minimum requirement: 3 brand DNA posts each week. These are pieces of content that could only come from you. Posts that are so aligned with your anchor statement that they act as a verbal and visual watermark. For example, one proof post showing a win in your brand colors, one identity hook, a short form video using your signature phrasing to shift belief, one process story, a behind the scenes look at how you operate using your brand's voice. When you hit this minimum bar, you ensure that your audience's recognition of your brand never fades. You are constantly reinforcing your position as a category leader. These 3 posts are the foundation of your weekly rhythm. As your brand matures, I want you to move beyond just having an audience. You want to build a culture. This happens when your audience starts to use your brand, not just watch it. You can embed the culture by creating hashtags for specific challenges or frameworks, giving your audience signature phrases they can repeat to each other, sharing branded templates or assets they can use in their own content, celebrating and highlighting them when they tag you or use your systems. This is the transition from audience to advocates. When your community starts speaking your language and using your visual cues, your brand gravity becomes self-sustaining. You aren't just a creator anymore, you are a leader of a movement. This is how you operationalize your brand. So you need to post 3 brand DNA posts. So anchor your feed in your core truth, show up in the community, provide one piece of high value depth to your inner circle, so your Skool community, for example. Then you want to engage in your own tone, reply to comments or DMs or anything using your signature messaging. Then I want you to use one proof loop, screenshot a win, and share it to reinforce trust. Then I want you to drive one call to action. Direct your audience towards your lead magnet or your core offer. This checklist ensures that every gear of your creator flywheel is turning. It moves people through the audience journey from being a stranger to being a buyer, all while keeping your brand gravity intact. Even with a perfect system, brands can drift. Every 90 days, you must perform a quarterly brand audit. You need to pull out your anchor statement from earlier on and hold your recent content up against it. Ask yourself, for your voice, does my tone still match my values? Then your visuals, are my colors and fonts still recognizable and consistent? Then your offers, are my products still delivering on my brand promise? Then proof, am I showing evidence of my process and results on every platform? If the answer to any of these is no, you have a drift problem. The audit is how you realign your signal and ensure your flagship store remains premium. Now, when you deploy your brand with this level of discipline, 3 things happen automatically. The algorithm, it learns to recognize your brand assets and knows exactly who to show your content to. Then the audience, they learn what to expect from you, which builds the familiarity and loyalty layers of your trust stack. Then the creator, you learn to filter every idea through your brand DNA instantly. You stop guessing and start operating. This is the flywheel effect. The more you deploy, the more gravity you have. The more gravity you have, the easier it is to grow and monetize. So you've moved from a talent with no structure to an operator with a system. This closes the brand gravity framework. You now have the core blueprint, the visual DNA, the signature voice, the proof pyramid, the monetization map, and the deployment system. You have moved from logo as decoration to brand as trust system. You are no longer just a content creator, you are a category leader. Your brand is the engine, your systems are the architecture, and your consistency is the currency. Your brand is now locked in, but now we need to master the words that move people. In the next lesson, we are going to go deep into scripting content. I'm going to show you how to take your brand voice and turn it into invisible scaffolding that holds attention for 60 seconds or 60 minutes. We're going to master the rhythm code, which I also have mentioned earlier on, to make your content addictive. Your challenge for this week is to post your first 3 brand DNA posts. Run the system for 90 days straight and you will have a brand that people trust, remember, and recommend. So, see you in lesson 3.